I don't know if I want to do like an old-timey like radio intro or not.
Oh, okay. You could have the what we did earlier could be a fun intro,
Yeah.
honestly.
I mean, that's on like one end of the spectrum. Then on the other end, it would be like, you're listening to Galaxy News Radio. Star Wars jukebox in the middle of Tatooine.
Grab your blue milk and...
Grab your blue milk and take a...
Add green milk if you're spicy.
And now that you're comfortably in light speed... headed into the Outer Rim, whatever. Yeah.
Well, actually, as far as Star Wars, like, sci-fi is very, like, they don't try to explain it very well or very much, but basically they go into hyperdrive, which is basically hyperspace lane. So they're not actually going faster than light. They are basically entering, like, wormholes and traveling through wormholes basically all the time.
Really?
Like, when they make the jump, the calculations are, it's the jump to hyperspace. So hyperdrive is just going in and out of like a different... Yeah, so... Which is very inconsistent.
Okay.
It's used very inconsistently, but technically, they're like... Yeah.
My whole life has been a lie. I thought I knew Star Wars. Why do they call it light speed?
That's a great question. I think, well, like, if you see like a lot of the like... movies or like shows where you have like the big ships in hyperdrive, that's why you can't like see any stars and it looks like you're in a wormhole. It's because they're in hyperdrive. And then in like the different because like and then in the shows they have like the I don't know, like I'm a Star Trek nerd through it. I'm wearing a Star Trek shirt right now, so all the Star Wars fans are gonna be hating on me.
Then the Star Wars fans attack. If you put anything in the wrong order, the entire Star Wars community will like, I don't know if they'll like hire George Lucas to kill you or what, but
George Lucas will make another New Hope edit where Taylor is one of the killed aliens.
They'll edit the Return of the Jedi so that like you're the one who falls in the Sarlacc pit or gets eaten by that one crab thing or
George
whatever.
Lucas at it again. I wish George Lucas inspires me. He reminds me that no matter what, you can always change the past.
Your mind. Yeah.
I like to imagine that now that Disney owns Star Wars, like, that he just, like, has to break into, like, Mickey Mouse's castle to, like, change.
They're, like, Disney security is, like, constantly, like,
oh, no,
finding him, like, in nearly, most upsettingly, nearly cracking the vault this time, Yeah,
that's how I like to imagine it.
I mean, he has the billions of dollars now necessary to, do those sort of Ocean's 11-esque.
Now that's a movie I would watch. Like,
yeah. Hollywood's full of chumps. Why don't they fund this?
Yeah, but I guess Star Wars Visions, dubs or subs?
What?
Dubs or subs?
Yeah, no, I heard you the first time.
Do you even anime?
No. Okay, well, anyway, so this is a little thing that I'm putting on now that for Star Wars Day. That's because I'm a movie reviewer channel now. That's what that's what you're gonna get from here on out. And there's a new season of Star Wars Visions coming out on May 4th. Mm-hmm. So we thought to celebrate, we would do a review ranking of Star Wars Vision Season 1. And just to sort of briefly summarize how this all works. Star Wars Visions is an anthology miniseries.
Yeah.
Where Lucasfilm hired some Japanese animation studios to make some Star Wars short films or Star Wars inspired short films.
Yeah, and completely like non-canon, so they had no restrictions. They're like, hey, do something Star Wars, do whatever the heck you want with it. Mm-hmm. Which I think gave them like a lot of freedom, and that was pretty fun to see.
There was definitely a lot of freedom.
Maybe too much freedom.
You know, we'll get into that. So how this one's gonna work is that we have a random number ranking, and we will use that to decide like the number episode in the series
that we'll talk about.
And then one of us will give like a as brief as possible summary of it, I guess.
I didn't know we're doing that. Okay.
And then we will both say where we put it on our like ranking from like first being the best of that season and ninth being the
Worst.
least favorite.
Least favorite.
We're gonna stay positive. I dislike those negative reviewers, so we're gonna try to and then fail to stay positive. So I think that's how we're going to. I think that's how we're gonna do it. And then if we forget, oh well.
Oh well. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen Star Wars, do we want to do spoilers?
Han Solo dies.
No, I meant for the episode. Do we want to be spoiler free, or are we just not gonna care?
They're like 15 minutes each. Go watch them if you're really that concerned.
Yeah, they're on Disney Plus. You can watch them there. If you don't have access to Disney Plus, what rock were you living under? Were you living under a rock? In which case, get back under that rock, Sweaty. There's nothing good going on up here.
Say, fellas, did someone mention the door to darkness?
I bet every dollar I got, there will not be any Kingdom Hearts ranking videos here. So,
well, how funny would it be if we did one? You know,
not in the foreseeable future. Today it's Star Wars Visions. Maybe the new Kingdom Hearts will have another like Kingdom Hearts, the Binding of the Unchained 504,691. And
I think we should
will be
rank
having Luke Skywalker in it, but who knows?
I think we should rank every Kingdom Hearts game based on the title, like
and nothing else.
And nothing else.
Yeah, maybe. But do we want to get started?
Okay, so this is a random. I used random.org.
Random.org.
So shout out to random.org.
Hey, I love random.org. They make random things.
Yeah, just random. Not like they're not like other websites.
Oh, yeah.
But the first episode we are talking about is the last one.
The last one.
Akakiri.
Okay. So, can you... I'm gonna have you start us off. Can you give me a one-sentence summary about Akakiri?
Depressed man falls to the dark side after accidentally killing and resurrecting his girlfriend.
Yeah, so we're not doing the spoilers. We're doing spoilers, and no spoiler-free here, apparently. Okay, yeah, so... That's what happens.
I mean...
So Taylor, where did you rank? Where do you rank I'm gonna take some notes.
Yeah. So
I want to do paper?
I've thought about this, and we've memed like in our private conversations, the episodes the most. But in a hot twist, I ranked this one as my least favorite. I put this one at 9th because when I was thinking, and we'll get into the other ones. But what I was thinking about it, it's like, again, I love emotions. This one makes me, it makes me feel like I'm getting, the life sucked out of me a little bit. Like, I don't know, it's the worst reviewed one on IGN, I think.
Pack it up, boys. IGN didn't like it, honestly.
Well, no, I mean, IMDb, sorry, oh, yeah, but... So
those are very different.
Those are very different. But anyway, I don't know. It's very hard for me to figure out what they were going for, with the story, because the protagonist is just, I don't know. It's like he's struggling to stay awake. Maybe
he's supposed to be an audience surrogate. That might have clued you in that I didn't rank this one very highly either.
Caleb, where did you rank this?
I put it at 7, actually.
Ooh, okay. See, I was originally predicting that this would be number 8 for both of us.
Interesting.
And so it went to my least favorite.
Like separated a bit.
It's separated a bit, but
yeah. It's hard to say why because a lot of this is like, well, I'm comparing it to the other ones. I will point out this was an insanely forgettable short for me. Things about it that I liked, relatively few, but I'd say that like it felt very like it had a very like kind of self-fulfilling prophecy, Greek tragedy sort of thing, which I love. Self-fulfilling prophecy kind of story because that's usually the only kind that there is actually. So like the actual characters, I can't really say anything
the art
about.
style was it was my least favorite visually of all of the 9 of them. Like I felt like it looked like, I don't know, just like the proportions were kind of weird. The colors were just like dull. I don't know.
What is there any other one? Actually, Akakiri is one of the shorts that that studio made another Star Wars Visions.
Oh, they
short.
did?
Yeah, so I'm curious if there's any other ones that struck you
as
similarly.
Like dull.
Yeah.
Oh shoot. Let me check my full list here. Honestly, that surprises me because I felt like Akakiri was much lower in terms of the visuals, like just aesthetically.
Yeah, I'll put some JPEGs of each episode up so that people might have an idea.
Yeah, okay, we love the JPEGs. No PNGs here, you know.
Well, you know.
Oh.
We love we don't like lossless file formats.
Yeah, let's see. I will get into the other ones, but like there's no one of the other ones I'm like, okay, this is ugly. When I'm watching Akakiri, I'm thinking, this is like, how do I say? I love Dune, and Dune is stunningly beautiful. Mm-hmm. It's like if Dune was bad. You know? It's like...
Well, I mean, if you want to see Dune but bad, some people would argue that the 2000s miniseries was possibly the greatest school play ever filmed. And then there's, of course, the beloved 1980s David Lynch film that I'm sure some people still remember. But, yeah, I think we pretty much covered that it was more lackluster.
Yeah.
I mean, I was bored watching this.
Yeah.
But it was more of passive boredom, in the sense of, like, I was feeling distracted, not like I was actively waiting for it to end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yay!
Yay!
Do you have any other concluding thoughts?
The only reason I put this so low is that, like, I forget about it. And I think apathy is, I think in terms of these 9 episodes, I think I enjoy hatred more than apathy.
Good, Anakin.
I'm being pulled to the dark side.
Yeah, I never would have pegged you as being a Jedi. But, yeah, so I put Akakiri for me as 7 and Taylor as 8.
Okay.
All right, yeah, I think you covered it pretty well.
Okay, would you like to give the next synopsis?
Of?
The Elder. Oh, Tenzin!
The Elder.
The Elder. I guess, do you want to say where you ranked it?
I can give the synopsis.
Okay.
The Elder is about a Jedi Master and Padawan arriving at a distant, faraway planet while they're investigating a sort of dark side of the Force sensation that they had when they flew nearby.
Disturbance in the Force.
Yes. So, and then they find it, and that's the plot of The Elder. And then we can talk about spoilers as it so happens. So, yeah. I'm curious, Taylor, where did you put The Elder?
Okay, so I will say going into this, there are 3 episodes in this anthology series that, to me, I constantly shuffle which one is actually my favorite.
Okay.
But I think I put it as my 3rd favorite.
Okay.
It was number 3 for me. There's something that I feel like it subverts a lot of, like, standard, like, tropes in, like, I don't know, like, we can get to the things, but where did you rank it?
I noticed that this was also haphazard for me, but I threw it at the very top. This one was number 1.
Oh, hey! Hey! Okay. That actually makes me really happy, because I didn't think that you would actually... I thought this one was going to be lower for you.
Okay.
But...
No, there's plenty of time for disappointment later.
Okay. Yeah, no, I love this one. This one, The Elder has been... I have called it my favorite Visions episode multiple times in the past. So, like, it's very much... It shuffles around. Yeah. Tell me more.
Why did I put it at the top? A lot of it is kind of like... Since I haven't seen them in a while, it's like memorability is important here. Whether it, like... Another one is whether it makes me want to watch a full-length movie of it or not.
That's
And I think that I would like to see more of this. It kind of has a little bit of what I assume is kind of the template of, like, the Star Wars Clone Wars series of, like, a Jedi and his pet Jedi go to a planet and they learn the culture and then they fight the thing that's troubling them and then they fly away.
Yeah.
And I think even though it's there quite a bit throughout the Star Wars movies, the actual, like, day-to-day master and apprentice thing doesn't show up a whole lot.
Yeah.
Because it's always one of them's the chosen one.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And so this is, like, much more normal. But I'm trying to think. The moral lesson at the end is sufficient.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, I'm seeing these as entertainment, not necessarily works of art. So that one had me, like, the most entertained, the most, like, edge of my seat, worried about what's gonna happen next, and wanting more.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was perfect. I think one thing that I really like, and I didn't think about it until you put it into words, but, like, there is no chosen one in this, right? And so you're just kind of seeing, like, that more, like, what's the average Jedi and the average Padawan. I really like how the Padawan knows that neither of them are the chosen one, and he's, like, really, like, ugh, God, why do I have to be put on the guy that's, like, doing the rural rotations? You know?
Brutal.
You know? Like, but, like, there's just the young... I don't know, like, in so many of, like... Especially in, like, all of these other ones, there's, like... I mean, maybe not a lot of these other ones, but, like, in just a lot of, like, Star Wars, and even, like, in, like, you know, in Star Wars content that I really enjoy, there's this, oh, I'm so powerful, I'm gonna be rebellious, and old people don't know anything, I'm gonna go, you know, do my own thing. And it was, like, really cool to see a dynamic where the young person the hothead wasn't just, like, always right, and the old person wasn't automatically the strongest, greatest person in the galaxy, you know? Like...
Yeah, I don't think anyone struck me as being, like, incompetent.
Yeah.
Or that sort of thing. And I think, like, it kind of reminds me of movies where, particularly, like, in horror, where it's not always... It doesn't happen very often, but where the characters aren't making many mistakes, it's just too late. You know?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Like... Yeah, and so I think there's a little bit of that. I think the sort of fighting in Star Wars can vary, because, you know, in the original series, it's almost like just symbology, and then in the newer ones, it's rather flashy, right? And this one, it kind of felt like it had both. Like, you can kind of see... Like, it didn't last very long, because they got a budget here, and animations aren't cheap, kids.
No,
but
don't.
Like, you know, seeing the Padawan going on the defensive when he realizes, like, oh no,
yes,
this is no good. Or, like, seeing how the like, the master is like starting out by, like, testing like his opponent, and then not really making any mistakes, but like still not sure what he's up against.
Yeah.
The whole time.
You're making me regret that putting this as the lower of my 3 favorites now. Like,
I mean, it's very memorable. It stuck out to me.
It's so good. And I will say again, going into my top 3, I think they're all very different from each other, and I like them for very different reasons. So like, honestly, now I want to put The Elder as my favorite, but like I gotta stick to what I wrote earlier.
Okay.
I'm not gonna change anything.
We can't. I mean, like, what a testament if we can like change each other's minds in real time, and if you wanted to, you totally can.
You know what? How about when we go through this, we can see if either of us changed each other's minds.
Okay.
And because I feel like that you did a really good argument for The Elder, and yeah, I love it. Like, I think it's the one that I've rewatched the most, probably.
Right.
Actually, like it's very good. I love the dynamics. I think the Padawan being like warming up to the kids, like, you know, they're like very subtle, like warming up and respecting his master. I like how the master, who's had very much kind of like Qui-Gon Jinn kind of energy, you know. There's
maybe a little bit more depressed.
Maybe a little bit more.
Like, that wasn't like an intentional beard that he was growing.
But one thing that I liked upon like this is one I did rewatch this one in preparation for this, and one thing that I noticed was like how like the master like very much cares about the Outer Rim, and like he's not high on himself, you know, like he's very skilled. Like, I think I loved how in the end how like the Sith was like, oh my gosh, you are so strong in the Force, you're amazing, you are finally a worthy opponent. And like, whereas the Padawan this whole time has been like disrespecting, like, oh, I got the guy who's on like Outer Rim guard duty. And like, I think it's just really something that's really precious to me, that like you can have someone that's really like in tune with the Force, like really good, being happy just like with the little people, and like not having to be at the center of attention. I think was
I think you see that a lot in like the kind of like humble Ronin sort of archetype in a lot of Japanese stories and martial arts movies and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of homages in the Star Wars visions, and I'm going to try to point them out. I'm not super familiar with Japanese media though, but so I'm sure, you know, the odds are there's going to be somebody who watches this somehow who actually knows more about this than I do. But
leave a comment, you know.
Leave a comment. Please. You know, if it's like, actually, if you see the screenshot in the whatever episode, you'll know that and I'll appreciate it. I don't think I'll re-upload, but yeah. So that was The Elder.
That was The Elder. Okay, let's see. What do we have up next? Okay, we have episode 4, which is The Village Bride. Ooh.
Alright. I want to just point out before we get any further, every time I wrote this in my phone, it autocorrected to The Village Bridge, which I would actually watch. A movie about a bridge.
I would watch a movie about a bridge as well.
But it's called The Village Bride.
Yeah.
So let me... The
Village Bride.
So Taylor, give us a synopsis of The Village Bride.
The Village Bride is, Jedi scarred by war gets into war again in order to help people.
Heck yeah. Ain't that just the way?
Ain't that just the way?
Ain't that the Jedi way?
Ain't that the Jedi way?
What's this, another war?
Was this another war? But yeah, so it's basically set after Order 66, after the Clone Wars, during the time of the Empire. So like sometime between episodes 3 and 4. I'm assuming, you know, so another of those, you know, if I had a nickel for every Jedi that supposedly, you know, that lived through Order 66 at this point, I have a lot of money. Like, I'd be able to buy, like, a month of...
lightsaber.
Like, I'm just saying, like... Yoda was not alone. Yoda and Luke, you know, they're a lot. But yeah, this is not canon. But let's see. So where did you rank it, or is it my turn to say?
It's your turn. The synopsis person goes first.
Okay, so this is one of my 3.
Okay.
And so it bounces back, but upon okay, what really got me was the soundtrack. I've been listening to the soundtrack for this episode a lot, and so I put it as my number one.
Okay.
I put it, there's, I don't know, I don't think it's technically the best. Like, I don't think it's I don't know, what is objective? Objectively, it is an episode, right? You know,
this is objectively a subjective review.
This is objective, yeah. But, like, I was just thinking about it. This is one that I rewatched because I was like, I need to, like, think about how these make me feel. And it's such a simple, like, Star Wars is simple, like, especially in its original creation.
Right.
And I felt like this was such a good, simple Star Wars story. There's something that, like, got my heart fluttering, just a simple story of, like, oh my gosh, here's this amazing, like, little community that is in tune with Mahina, or, you know, their version of the Force. And then, like, the main character just, like, her arc is her getting to care again, I think was just, like, very heartwarming to me. And I don't know, it just makes me feel very happy. Like, seeing a very simple, lovely little story. But, yeah, where did you put it?
Me?
Yeah.
5th.
Okay, yeah, so more middle, that's fine, you know.
I think part of it was hampered by that I couldn't really remember it super well. I knew what the story was, right? And it's kind of like somebody going off to be a little sacrificial lamb, right? And then, you know, people are like, that's stupid. We're gonna fight for you. And then she's like, how dare you fight for me? Please don't kill for me. Yeah. That's a terrible idea. And then somebody else shows up and kills for them.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, like, so, like, actually, I kind of forgot about the whole, like, local name for the Force, and I only remembered that it was, like, a Padawan that escaped Order 66 from, like, a screenshot that I, like, bumped into. Maybe the soundtrack was good.
Yeah. How do I say? I think if I had to think objectively, like, I think my other two in my top 3, like, including The Elder, and who knows, like, we're talking, like, maybe we'll change our list by the time this review is done. But upon my most recent, I did watch my top 3 in preparation for this, and The Village Bride, I just felt very, like, oh, this is, yeah. So I felt all the emojis, and it just made me very, very happy. But we'll see where we're at by the time this ranking is done.
Might shake down a little bit.
You know, but I agree that it is, like, one thing is, like, I felt like it was, like, the least anime, like, of a lot of them. Like, there's, like, you could have told me that it was just, like, a, you know, American-made Disney Plus, like, a Clone Wars episode or something, or a Bad Batch episode or something, and I would have believed you. Because there's not, like, something, like, it feels very familiar to, like, Star Wars. And the most anime thing about it was the visuals, which I really liked the visuals.
Kind of more of, like, a, I think, Studio Ghibli sort of aesthetic, which is a nice enough aesthetic. It's, you know, a bit more sophisticated, restrained, perhaps.
This is my, I would call it, let's see, I'm really looking at my list again. I'd call this the only kind of comfort episode.
I think it's, comfort.
Yeah.
I agree. That would explain why I couldn't think of anything bad about it, but I was more just having difficulty recalling it.
I respect that. To be fair, your synopsis of The Elder is, we'll see where my ranking changes by the end.
Yeah,
but
who knows?
But we're not talking about The Elder. Is there anything else? I think that's one thing, is, like, there's not much else to say about The Village Bride. Like, it's extremely simple.
Yeah, it's very self-contained.
Yeah.
I didn't think I needed much more, which is, you know, you can do that in a short. That's fine.
Yeah. That's very fair. Do you have anything else to say, or should we go on to the next one?
I mean, just sufficient overall. Like, I thought it was adequate in pretty much any major way I could think of. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so for now, first for me and fifth for you.
Yeah, our biggest disagreement.
Our biggest disagreement so far, which I respect. I understand, like, this is, okay, are we on to the next one?
Yeah, let's see if we were less conciliatory on this.
The Ninth Jedi.
All right, the Ninth Jedi.
And I believe it's your turn to do the
My turn to give
synopsis.
synopsis. Okay. So the Ninth Jedi is like kind of in a like force-wielding dark age, basically.
Good. Yeah.
And it has the story of the daughter of the man who's making lightsabers
Yeah.
at the request of somebody who's trying to restore the Jedi Order. And then after the daughter brings the lightsabers to the prospective Jedi applicants, it's revealed that there is a traitor among them.
Which
Oh, hi, Tenzin.
our cat Tenzin will be joining us for this review.
Yeah.
But of course the traitor is the fact that there's only one Jedi.
The real traitor was the friends we made along the way. The traitor was that one of them was actually a Jedi all along, and
Yeah.
the rest were Sith.
Well, that's not true.
disguise.
There was actually two that were Jedi, but there was
One and a half.
one.
And then the daughter, the kid, it was another half. So then it became two. So yeah, I would be willing to say two.
But there are 9 Jedi. You could join us and be the 9th Jedi. Guy can't even count right, you know? Like
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, so where did you rank this?
That's a good question. My phone closed, so I'm going to double check real quick. I ranked the Ninth Jedi at 3.
Ooh, okay, we're not too far off. I ranked it at 4.
All right.
All right, so that's pretty close. Yeah.
Hold on one second. Gush more about.
Oh, gosh.
the Ninth
Okay,
Jedi.
so
I need
Ninth
to-
Jedi, I think as like, of course, I will say, I'm wearing a Star Trek shirt right now. I'm a Trekkie through and through, but I do really love Star Wars, and Star Wars is amazing. And I think one thing that I think was one of the coolest thing is like, I mean, it's different from like the Star Wars lore, but having the Jedi, like a lightsaber, change based on the wielder, I think is heckin' cool. Like,
Yeah.
it kind of makes it feel like the lightsaber and like the kyber crystal is instead of like being its own thing, which like in like Clone Wars is kind of like its own thing, and it's like it's got its own personality or whatever, but like, which is complicated. And I'm much like I kind of like this more, that it's just like the kyber crystal is just like a focus for you to harness your connection to the Force, and like your connection comes out so uniquely through the like the color, and I just think is very cool. And also, what a great lie detector test, you know?
Right? like once they kind of like actually use their lightsabers, like the jig was up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
That is one of my favorite. That is my favorite aspect of the episode. That's just such a creative, unique take on just like Star Wars lore that I really enjoyed. So that was my favorite part of it. But please tell me more about why you have it.
Why I have it at 3. It was definitely memorable. The like from like the kind of, it wasn't muted like Akakiri, but it was more, I think, outright like kind of darker color palette.
Was it by the same people?
Was it?
Was this one?
No, I'll let you know when we get to the other.
okay.
I'll let you know when we hit the second time we have a studio.
Oh, okay.
That did which studios did both. Anyway, yeah. So then the I didn't really care about the lightsaber smith himself. It was kind of interesting. I was interested to hear like what would happen next.
Yeah.
With the, refounding the Jedi Order. I think that as we kind of said, that there was a twist. The twist was simple but pretty effective. I don't think I've ever guessed a twist in my life.
I think one
but
thing
it worked.
about this episode is that they intentionally planted false seeds like everywhere. So like I don't think, like, how do you say, anime, like some of these episodes, like some of my lower tier ones, like have a twist that's like, okay, I saw that. I looked at the first screen and I kind of saw that coming. This one, like, I didn't know whether, are you going to do a twist? Or is a twist going to be that you're not going to do a twist? I don't really think there was any way to accurately, like, it would be random to, like, predict what was going on. But basically, like, the guy, there was, like, that robot who was secretly the Margrave, who was secretly, like, a Jedi. And, like, he was portrayed to be very evil originally. Like, originally they were like, ooh, is the Margrave secretly harvesting all so that he can kill all the Jedi? But no, he's a Jedi. He's starting a new order, you know?
Yeah. I think it helps set the setting.
Yeah.
Like, you're in a dark age. Like, they're kind of going for the idea that good is not nice, basically. You know, that, you know, you have to frighten off the bad people. So it's sort of more like a Jedi as Batman than Jedi as Superman.
Yeah, okay.
Sort of thing.
I see that, yeah.
Which is, I think, is neat. I think I would have gotten tired of it if this was a feature-length movie.
Yeah.
But since it wasn't, I just wanted more. Just a little bit.
I also like how the Sith were friends with each other. Like, they were pals. Like, all the Sith that were there to, you know, kill the Jedi, like, they were buds.
Together.
They were angry when they lost their, like, they were teammates. They were buddies, you know? They were so that was cool. Let's see. I did not like, if I'm being honest, like, I don't know who's the main character. I don't know if it's the girl or the Ninth Jedi. Because the Ninth Jedi was technically the guy, like, Jedi that, the young, like, he's like, would you like to be the Ninth Jedi and join my order? Or did he say that to the girl? I don't remember. But I feel like they were basically the same, different versions of the same character. In terms of, like, the young kind of Padawan needs a master, needs further training kind of a thing.
Was there another kid other than the daughter?
I mean, he looked like he was a teenager.
I totally forgot about that guy.
Yes! Which is why, so he basically was like, he's the one that, like, he activated the lightsaber first. And, no, he activated the lightsaber first, and it was blue for him. And then everyone around him activated it, and it was red.
That was a neat shot.
That was a very neat shot. And I think that moment was... And again, it plays off of what they did with the reflecting the lightsaber, like, blade color. Yeah, let's see. So yeah, that was a very neat shot. But yeah, that character was very forgettable, as...
as I inadvertently shown.
But then at the end, when, like, there's that, like, bunny guy, and... If I had a nickel for every episode of Star Wars Visions that featured a bunny person, I'd have 2 nickels, which...
I mean, that's actually 2 out of 9.
That's actually 2 out of 9. That's
more than you'd expect.
That's more than that. But, like, the bunny guy was, like, you know, all Sith, and he's like, I'm sorry, the other's darkness consumed me. Like, that was...
I mean, I'm pretty sure that evil's not, like, literally contagious, but...
Evidently it was for him. Do you think the light will beat the darkness?
No, I think the darkness will overcome the light. Have you heard of the Jedi Wars?
Yes, I have. I'm a Jedi Master.
That was pretty much the backstory of this, which was enough, you know, for a short.
So, like, I liked a lot of things with it. I feel like what brought it down to me was, like, I like the Margrave a lot. Like, he is my favorite character in this. I like the antagonists. I liked all the Sith. The concept of the master, of, like, this lightsaber master was really cool, but, like, the forgettable main guy and then the kind of just, like, anime girl person kind of put this lower on my list, I think. But like, still 4 for me, you know? So, like, next tier to my 3 that I always juggle between.
Yeah, if you're trying to avoid anime girl in Star Wars Visions, like, come on, man, what are you doing? You know?
Fair.
Yeah, okay. That was the Ninth Jedi, and it wasn't ninth or anywhere close to it for either of us.
Indeed.
But now we're halfway.
Okay, halfway. So, next one, episode. Oh, here we go. 3, the twins.
Oh, the twins.
Oh, the twins. Best episode. Is it my turn to review?
Yeah, it's your turn to review.
Okay, you have the most epic fight. The fight of all time. You have the epic, like, think, for all you with siblings out there. Need I say more? Like, they're siblings. They fight. They have a, they fight.
So, what's the plot, Taylor?
2 twins were, like, conceived by the dark side of the Force, or engineered from the very beginning to, like, use anime mech suit, dark crystal saber suits, but also to wield a stupid another Death Star that's just 2 Star Destroyers taped together with a cannon in the middle. And then the twin brothers decides that he doesn't care about the Republic. I don't care about the Republic or the Empire. I don't care about any of them. Why are you doing this, brother? Because are you afraid that I will die? Yes, I know that you have seen. I have foreseen it. How could you have foreseen it and not I? So, best dialogue.
So, this is Keel Barrickson's YouTube channel, your source of unbiased, evenly reported Star Wars related news.
But yeah, best episode is my personal favorite, in case you were wondering.
Well, hold on a second there, because you put The Village Bride as your personal favorite.
I lied. This is actually... Okay, let's see. To finish my summary, then you have the most anime crap in the anthology series, by far. By far. And
they leaned into it on this one.
They lean into it. I ranked this. It was tough because I hate this episode. But I decided that I enjoyed hate more than apathy, so I put it at 8 for me.
8, okay. Wow. Good for you.
So.
Okay. I put it at 9.
Woo!
And that's more out of apathy, actually.
Okay.
I think I am rather Jedi-like in my mind about these things.
We all know that I'm no Jedi.
Curiously enough, though, you'll never guess in 1,000 years, The Twins was made by Studio Trigger, which was also made The Elder.
The dichotomy, like, how do you feel about that? That's your 1 and 9, you know?
Well,
like,
they're different directors and producers and that sort of thing. So
the duality of anime.
I guess.
I feel like that's a good spectrum of what anime can be.
It can be anything. It's very, very broad, as it turns out. We have stereotypes, right? But it's not. It's an industry. It's not even a genre, you know? So I don't really know how to... I don't even know how to kind of, like, approach this
episode.
As, like, so why did you put it at 8 instead of 9? You know, because, like, we both put it at low. I guess maybe just food for thought. Like, was this supposed to be, like, Dark Side alternate universe Luke and Leia? Or am I just missing...
I had never thought about that.
Bloop, 7.
Maybe? I suppose... Maybe? This was... Okay, I know that some people really enjoy that over-the-top, overly dramatic, overly obvious, overtly, like... big huge leaps in, like, this was anime logic. Like, this is like my conception of anime, like, before I went to college. Like, this is what I thought anime was,
right?
And this is why I avoided anime. Like, yeah, it was I don't know how to approach, like, it's so over the top. Like, I think some people really enjoy this type of anime,
right?
And, like, I respect those people. Their opinions are valid, but they are wrong.
Yeah, I mean, no. I mean, yeah. I think, I don't know. I have a pet theory that, like, it's like there's a culture-driven reason for why, like, a lot of anime is, like, so over the top and melodramatic. And I think it's because in Japan, you're supposed to be, like, graceful and reserved. So, like, you know, in like America, for example, like, your escapism, your fantasy is when you're, like, actually smart enough to know what to say. You know, like, you're witty. Like, you actually do deserve to run the world the way America does. But in Japan, it's to let loose and to finally just, like, swear at your principal, you know? Like that sort of thing. That's my guess.
Yeah.
I think the twins leans into this hypothesis.
I think it's a good, it's data. It's a good data point for that.
It also explains Korean TV, which is either melodramatic soap operas or the most ridiculous game shows. But yeah, like, so to be a bit more objective, relatively speaking, the twins suffered from, I don't understand why this is happening.
Yeah.
I think probably, other than the fact that they could shout at each other in the void of space and one, hear one another, and two, not die, without, like, you could have just put a bubble around their head and I would have believed it.
Yeah.
Was like, why was it that the sister had so much of the, like, all the gizmos on her, like, she Doc Ocked at a point.
Yeah.
And then her twin brother didn't. The idea, I thought, was that they were inseparable. That's why they cut a starship in half and then made a bigger one, and they each got a command chair. So, like, how did he skip out on that?
I think, like, yeah, the explanation, I don't know, like, the only difference we get is, like, he, through the Force, foresaw what was going to happen in the next 2 minutes, you know?
I guess.
Like, and then literally, like, when he's talking about, like, I foresaw this, sister, you're going to die a painful death. And then she's like, no, that will never happen. Like, 2 minutes later.
Like, he, like, flies a ship at her at stinking warp 8.
Well, like, that's the thing, is, like, then they're like, I just thought it was, like, she screamed in pain, dying, and then he, like, warps, hyperdrives.
Stinking warp 10s out of there.
To, like, using the lightsaber, and then all of a sudden she's fine. She's like, ah! Good Frank, bro. You know, like, it's just so inconsistent, even with itself. Like, there are no rules, and I don't know how to get invested when, like,
when anything can happen.
Yeah, like...
Yeah, my favorite part was at the end, where he's like, she's alive! She's out there somewhere! And then R2-D2's like, but how do you know? And then he's like, because she's my twin sister, which is, one, not an explanation, and two, what was the single biggest contributing factor to the possibility that she wasn't alive?
Okay, when I first heard that, I thought for sure, it was like, okay, twins, like, he's talking about their Force mom or something, you know, like, or maybe someone else, like, you know, like, it just, what a plot twist. He's like, yeah, she's out there somewhere, R2-D2 ripoff. We're gonna find her. How do I know? She is my twin sister. Guy, you sliced her spacesuit, left her for dead in the void of space, and destroyed her ship and blew up everything around her and left. You could have went back for her if you were really that worried. What do you mean you're gonna go look for? Oh, it's my twin sister is missing. You know what I think happened? I think you murdered your twin sister.
Have you considered the possibility that maybe you killed her?
Yeah.
Not really.
I don't know. There's just so much that's just like so like the motivations are really messed up. Like, I mean, and that, like, they're not there. Like, she's just like, we will restore. I really hate, like, I've only seen the order and peace in the galaxy used unironically or non-lyingly, like, sincerely in a good way once, and that was like in Star Wars Rogue One, where, like, he's like, we will have, the guy is like, we will have, you know, order. It's like, you're doing terror. It's like, we have to start somewhere. Like, you know, that is, I thought, I like that line for a bad guy. Like, you know, like, order through terror. Like, that's an objective. The sister is just so tonally inconsistent. I have no idea what she loves. The dark side, evidently, you know, but, like, the boy is like, I don't care about the Empire or the Republic. He cares about her, but then why does he leave her in the dead void of space?
As someone who has siblings, sometimes this just happens.
It's that part of the siblings' journey.
It's the sibling, like, I mean, what sibling hasn't had these, sort of mixed feelings, or like the what you want and what's happening being so different, like.
I mean, this is the greatest sibling story in all of Star Wars.
I mean, I hesitate to say it, but we shouldn't mock this. I mean, I can't animate. They are better at this than I am. At least making a finished product. We have to put the Ratatouille monologue at the end of this. The critic's work is easy, and we must recognize that the worst piece of junk is probably more valuable than the criticism designating it so. I'm gonna cut that out.
Please don't. Leave it in. You're gonna get hired by Pixar. This is how you get discovered. This is how Big Mouse gets you.
While it's not strictly impossible that I work for Disney one day, I would be very surprised at this point.
Okay, so do we want to move on, or is there anything else you want to say about the twins?
I think we've given it too much credit talking about it this long.
Okay. The next one. This one is near and dear to my heart. Lop and Ochō.
Okay, back to back. I love it. So let me write down Lop and Ochō. So interestingly enough, I noticed that you put. Okay. Oh, I'm supposed to synopsize this first,
yes.
Right? Okay, so Lop and Ochō takes place in a world that has a rather low level of technology that's being uplifted through the ages, basically, speed run by, as it turns out, the Empire. And this is causing a family dispute between a kind of old samurai father figure and his biological daughter and his adopted daughter, as one of them sides with the Empire and the other wishes that they could just be left alone in their comfy medieval Renaissance Japan fishing town lifestyle.
As you do, who hasn't been in that situation?
I mean...
Tale of its time.
It's simpler. There is no bad thing to celebrate a simple life. Bilbo Baggins.
This is basically Lord of the Rings, but but Star Wars, So
I wasn't gonna say it first. So with that, where do I put Lop and Ochō? Despite such a strong premise, it grieves me, however, to have to put it at 8.
I respect that. Okay, so 8, yeah.
Where do you put it?
I put it at 5.
5. Okay, this one was actually the first one to surprise me from you.
Okay, so again, this was I made this list 10 minutes before we started, and I was
sure.
going off but okay. So here's what I like about it. I think the premise is very interesting. I think that very rarely in Star Wars do we get to see the Empire portraying themselves as the good guys, and I think the concept
the PR.
Empire PR, and I think the concept of hey, we're literally give us some of your resources. What if the Empire was smart and we're not gonna strip mine you, we're literally just gonna work it on slowly. Sure, maybe the more sinister stuff comes later, but what if they started slowly and said, hey, we want to literally just give you medicine, increase your quality of life, bring all this stuff, join which is interesting, and it would be a more modernization and not globalization, but galaxyization versus community and tradition could have been a very interesting thing.
Could have.
I chose my words accurately. Could have been an interesting thing.
Yeah.
I think that originally, again, and having that be through the father and the daughter, biological daughter, and then having the adopted daughter be a another lens through that. Mm-hmm. I think this episode had a lot of potential to be nuanced and to be cool.
Yeah.
But it loses all of that so quickly.
It suffers a little bit from what I think I'm going to be able to call the twin syndrome by the end.
If I had a nickel for every time in Star Wars Visions a sibling was slicing and dicing their sister while screaming how they're going to save them while putting them in lethal danger at the tip of a lightsaber, I'd have 2 nickels.
That's a fact.
Like,
it does happen sometimes. Apparently, it's very common.
It's very common. Like, in the end, like, she's just like, I'm gonna say... It was bad that I forgot whether Ochō was the planet or the sister. But, like, I will save you, Ochō, and we're gonna be a family again! Gives her, like, a huge slicing, like, slash X in her chest. Like, that is not a flesh wound. And she just, like, stands on her, like, ship. Like, what? Does she just demonstrate that she has the high ground? I guess that's true to Star Wars, you know?
Well, you beat me to it. I was going to say that I didn't know who Lop and who Ochō, which was which. And then you just one-upped me in an unbelievable, like, sense. Yeah, okay. So, I mean, that was one reason why it kind of went lower. Honestly, I think I know that I dislike missed opportunities.
Yeah.
And I see a big missed opportunity in Lop and Ochō.
Yeah.
The whole anti-empire was more of like a leave us alone.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're sort of modernizing, like, modernization is occurring within a single generation, I could see how that would exist. Mm-hmm. I would be more interested in of course this can fit in 15 minutes, but like a story where, we are getting a lot of benefits from the Empire, but like, look at where our resources are going. Like, look, like this is happening at the expense of the oppression of other planets.
I think on that note, yes, like that's much better than what I was saying. But like, I think one thing that I was thinking about was how Lop, was an alien from another planet. Mm-hmm. The reason she was on this planet was because she was an Imperial slave, right? And so I think the potential of like having them see nothing but the good, like the Empire doing nothing but exclusively beneficial things for them at the expense of like their resources being used to oppress others, I think would be a very interesting, like meaningful message, and and especially with like having like the daughter be like the adopted daughter be like a former slave, mm-hmm. like maybe like they're strip mining, like using the resources from their planet to oppress like her home planet, or something like that. Like could have been.
Yeah. The idea that like, our prosperity isn't happening in a vacuum, mm-hmm. might feel a little, it might be a little too nuanced for a short film. Mm-hmm. So like, I think in some ways the length caused, like, I think this would have been better if it was longer.
Yeah.
I would have, been able to, I would have been able to warm up to it more if they were able to develop it more. Mm-hmm. But I really liked the idea of the lightsaber being like a samurai's weapon.
Ooh, yeah.
Or at least that samurai's weapon. And kind of because it was ancestral. Mm-hmm. It was combining a lot of like Star Wars mythos with like a totally different like historical background than the one that it was made for.
Yeah.
Which I think is really neat. I think genre blends are fun because they're usually unique.
I think that was another aspect that I really liked. Like I think the father and the father and Lop I thought was a good dynamic, mm-hmm. and I liked like the passing of the sword, was just I thought was really cool. What I didn't like was the biological daughter like slicing her father's other eye out and then being upset that her dad gave the family sword to the adopted daughter. Like, come on, like There's.
I mean, if it was long, I mean, you you guys aren't on speaking terms. You guys are on eye-poking terms. Let's just be honest. I mean, like I said, if it was longer, and we could see like, oh, this is like, a kind of old-fashioned, more conservative guy who's very hesitant to give his ancestral family weapon to someone who's, like, not like. It's glorified kidnapping is what adopted daughter is, but finally warming up and like accepting it would have been a nice character arc, but they didn't have time for character arcs.
I think it sounds like we agree a lot on like the analysis of this episode. I think
it's so weird that the numbers are
I think you are more frustrated at missed opportunities than I am, and I'm more like excited by the opportunity and just sad that it was missed, if that makes sense. So like, I think, oh, this is a really cool setup. You were thinking that was a really bad follow through, as I think what kind of resulted in our difference with this one.
Even though we both agree it got worse the more it went on.
Yeah.
But you know what I think caused the numbers to be different? There's a bunny in it.
That is...
All right, next one.
I will say, okay, I've been being honest. There is a... I will say, I watched like the preview, not the previews, but like kind of like the previews, like the people like talking about working on the things, and there was a lot of heart and soul that went into the character design in this episode. That kind of raised it up by like 2 or 3 spaces.
Okay.
So
I haven't seen it, so. Yeah, you can't.
Also,
I'm not gonna change my ranking because of homework I haven't done.
well, no, I'm just.
Yeah.
It's
I get it.
Okay, you get it. Okay, so let's see what next. So Lop and Ochō was episode
6 on the, or that was our 6th one on the list.
Our 6th one on the list. Okay, so our 7th one on the list is Tatooine Rhapsody.
Oh yeah.
Tatooine Rhapsody. Okay, here to give you this thing. So there's this Jedi Padawan who, like, Order 66 happens, and he falls through
a hole
and then finds himself with the heavy metal slug guy, and then becomes not a Jedi Padawan, but a rock and roll Padawan. And learns the way of rock and roll. Heck yeah. And then has a new family with his band members. And then they try to escape because Jabba's not happy that his slug cousin wants to be a musician instead of a crime lord. And so he's gonna...
These are all reasonable demands. Things to feel, by the way.
So they're like, okay, we're gonna execute you. And it's like, no, we're gonna play a rock band in front of this whole audience that was here to witness our execution thing. And then they play, and then they're like, you're gonna be our sponsor. And then happy ending because the band's funded by a war criminal now.
I mean, I think it was more like taking what you can get, but I do agree that that's not quite as upbeat as they were. So Taylor, where do you rank Tatooine Rhapsody?
Tatooine Rhapsody, I put a 6.
Fascinating.
It was, how do I say? I feel like if I was more into music and like really into like band dramas, like how do you say? I that my taste in music is whatever song you last introduced to me.
It's limited.
Very limited. So
it's
like
deep. It's a narrow. It's like a chasm.
So, in terms of bands and like band drama and relations, I went into this episode having no like context, respect, reverence for like the band dynamic and that aspect, and so I think that threw me off because I should have been looking at this episode as like just like a found family basically, which is kind of like, and I think the issue is like for me there's not really, it's just the main character screaming a lot,
but to music,
also to no music. But like
okay,
and the other characters don't get much characterization aside from their little quirk. Like one of them's a droid cyborg person. One of them has 3 heads and 6 arms and 3
Obviously
torsos.
plays the drums.
Obviously.
I mean, that's where I would put him.
I mean, so yeah, I think that this episode just didn't have a lot for me, and like it didn't spark a lot of joy. Yeah, but that.
Well,
yeah,
I dabble in music.
you do.
And I put Tatooine Rhapsody at 6 also. Wow, we finally got it to align. Yeah, Tatooine Rhapsody is the most unremarkable Star Wars vision. No, this is Tatooine Rhapsody is the most unremarkable short about the galaxy's most unremarkable J-pop band. I genuinely cannot tell if they were supposed to be any good or not.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
Maybe it's because we watched the dubs.
yeah, maybe.
Oh, so dubs is like, overdub versus
Okay.
like subs is subtitles.
Did we do all dubs?
We did dubs.
Is some people gonna come out with pitchforks over this?
Yeah, probably. Because the original was set to the, Japanese, voice acting and songs and stuff, so we could have just been hearing the crappy Americanized versions.
I have faith in Disney.
In the heart!
Oh no. Yeah, so I mean, is this supposed to be like a musician's story or found family? Basically, one thing to know about bands is that they all either love each other, but more commonly they all hate each other. And it's a miracle that they've lasted as long as they have. Particularly when bands become successful.
Okay, yeah.
Like, this only intensifies. The sort of struggling band, it can be like, we're all in this together, or it can be like, this ain't working, I'm gonna do something else, you know? So, I'm not sure if it's supposed to be, like, realistic in any way. I think found family is probably just a much safer option. It's neat that they had, like, some star piece going on.
I think this is the only one without a lightsaber fight, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lightsaber, but it wasn't, like, to fight another lightsaber.
Yeah, and he couldn't even activate it,
Yeah, he turned it into a microphone.
Yeah.
I'm sure Master Yoda was thrilled to hear about that.
Okay, the dumbest thing, there's a character in Star Wars Rebels who turns his lightsaber into just, like, he can shoot lightsaber projections.
A gun.
Yeah.
He invented a gun. Because there aren't any in Star Wars.
Yeah.
You could probably power the Death Star with the amount of energy generated from Obi-Wan rolling in his grave. Jeez Louise.
But anyway, we're not talking about Star Wars Rebels today. But Tatooine
Right.
Rhapsody, I think it was perfectly unremarkable.
Perfectly.
And I thought this was the second, and upon looking through the list, I think this is the second ugliest episode to me.
I actually thought it was distinct. I thought the bright color palette was fine. Like, I remember what the characters look like, and like, you could put a lightsaber to my face and I couldn't tell you who Akakiri looked like, you know? Like, I don't...
Is Akakiri the guy or the girlfriend?
Or the planet, or the... Who even knows? You know, like... So, like, I think I can remember the look of that one.
Fair.
Like, more than Akakiri, more than...
Blue hair, blue lightsaber.
Yeah, right? More than quite a few of the other ones, actually. So... I didn't dislike the visuals, actually. I thought they were fine. They were a bit more like...
Yeah, you know what?
Outwardly cartoony.
I will take back what I said. When I said the second ugliest, Akakiri is the only one where I dislike the visuals.
Okay.
I do like the visuals.
So it's like 1, 3, and then everything else is 4 and 5.
Pretty much.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Because there's a bunny.
Just because there's a...
That's a different episode. We already went through that one. We're not going to rehash it.
Okay. But yeah, I don't know if there's really anything else to say about Tatooine Rhapsody. Like,
Nope, I feel like we've given it too much time already.
Okay.
All right, but we only have 2 left.
We only have 2 left. Next one, I think. Okay. Is it my turn to give the summary, or is it your turn?
I mean, we both kind of did the summaries, actually.
Okay. The next one.
Yeah.
Is Toby, or T0B1.
Is that a capital B or a lowercase b?
Capital.
Dang it.
Capital T0 dash B, capital B1.
I mean, I got the dash. Of course it's a dash.
It's a dash, yeah.
But, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I think technically it was my turn for Tatooine, but
Okay.
you went ahead of me, so I can give another shot at
go
this
ahead,
one.
go ahead.
So the Toby, or T0B1, as it should be more accurately called, is the story about a droid that was made by an old scientist man to help him turn an inhabitable planet into a habitable one, to give it. And he's working on creating plant life. Mm-hmm. And T0B1 is dreaming of becoming a Jedi and exploring the galaxy and all that good stuff. Until his foolishness causes a bad guy to appear.
Mm-hmm.
So that's T0B1. And this is probably going to be the other one where we have a divergence.
Yes,
this is the sequel to The Village Bride in our
This might be
viewing.
flipped.
This might be flipped, yeah. So I put Toby at 2.
Ooh.
The second.
Okay, yeah, I thought you'd say that. I put Toby at 7.
7. Ooh.
Right in the
Right in
droid.
the midichlorians.
Yeah, he's a droid. How can a droid have midichlorians? Because they're not organic.
That's a good question. Anyway, why did you rank Toby at 7?
How do you say? I think I'm gonna start with the things that I liked, because I think my bias is showing. Like, I will say, this episode and my ranking of this episode is the most influenced by my bias. So take that into account. But what I really liked, I think the Jedi focused on bringing life to lifeless planets is a very cool concept. I really liked the kind of mentor figure, and like it was a not too subtle but somewhat subtle reveal that he was actually a Jedi. Was pretty cool. I really liked that. Toby himself is very sweet and very cute. The art style is adorable, and all of the plants, like, I feel like so much of this episode could be a screenshot. Like, it's very well. So I think there's a lot to praise about this episode.
Okay.
And I really think that it's just there are certain things that really annoy me.
Yeah.
And
even more than Tatooine Rhapsody, apparently.
Even more than Tatooine Rhapsody. But
that's what's gonna get me about this. I can understand not liking Toby. I can't understand ranking it below Tatooine Rhapsody.
Okay, so here's... Yeah, okay. So what got me was Tatooine Rhapsody I felt more neutral. I just mentioned that there's a lot of that I like positive about Toby. Okay. Right? And maybe on a good day I would rank it above Tatooine Rhapsody. And maybe even above Lop and Ochō. Maybe.
Okay. But I'll take a maybe at this point.
But my issue with this, and I think this is one thing that I probably should have brought up earlier. One thing I strongly dislike in Star Wars is the Force being a catch-all. I can do this just because the Force wills it. It feels like a trope to give your, the protagonist skills that they just need to level up because they're cool. It feeds very much into that kind of chosen one thing. One of the reasons why I like the Elder so much is because you see the effort and you can imagine and see the years and training that must go into having all that skill and connection with the Force. Toby is a little dipstick that that just gets all of his abilities innately given to him. He does cause the death of his master and his father figure, of his father, and so many of these things, and he never blames himself for it. Like, there's no, like, shoot, like, I mean, like, okay, that's another thing. So I hate kid characters a lot. Like, I think a really good example is when we were watching, Over the Garden Wall. Yeah. I was sure that I was going to hate Greg. And Greg, is one of the best characters in, like, a cartoon, I think. I love Greg. Like, he's adorable. Yeah. He's amazing. But my bias made me not like him at first. And I still regret that to this day. Toby, I think, just, like... he's adorable, but, like, he doesn't face any consequences for, like, his actions. He's like, oh, don't go to the basement. Why do you think he said don't go? You're the one that suddenly, because you disobeyed, because you didn't respect what was going on, you caused the death of your father. Like, you caused this. This wasn't, at one point in the fight, he's like, you caused my, like, he specifically said, like, he caused my father's death. No, he killed him, but you caused the death, you little twerp. Maybe you should do it okay, I'm getting.
What else, Taylor?
Okay, this is why it kind of went, because I get frustrated. And then, he...
Really?
But then, like, the end, I feel like this episode, I would like it so much better if there was no Sith. If there was no lightsaber fight. I think if it was just, like, the struggle was some sort of, like, planet thing, or some sort of, like, other challenge that wasn't just, like, another Inquisitor, I think it would have been... Tenzin! Quit! Tenzin!
Quit interrupting our podcast. Don't scratch the couch.
If you're gonna interrupt, like, meow and come here, so people will be like, oh, this
interrupt with your opinion. Okay.
But yeah, so, like, I think, so that just, that aspect of Toby, which is, like, only one small part of the episode,
right,
is really souring it for me, and that is completely on me. That is not on the episode. I think it's objectively, and in a more objective light, it is a pretty good episode. It just grinds me the wrong way.
So if you like look down at, like, the grave and he's like, this is my own masterpiece, or whatever the line is, like, that would do, I did this. That would do so much for you.
Not necessarily that, but, like, just like the kid is, like, rarely sad. Like, he's sad for, like, a minute, and I just feel like if I caused, a loved one's death inadvertently, there would be some more guilt and some, like, I don't know. Like, it's very, I don't know. This one feels like it was more made for a younger demographic.
Yeah. I don't know if he had robot tear ducts to, like, drip some oil or not, but, like, if he did, perhaps, yeah. Okay, do you want me to talk about...
Yeah, please, because it is a good episode, so please do it justice.
Okay. I don't think I'll be able to, like, convince you as hard as perhaps some of the other ones for our re-ranking after this is all over. But, I mean, you are, I think to start with, you are correct at the very end when you talked about how it seems to be geared towards or having a target audience, and I think it is a younger audience, right? I think it is more clearly made for kids than pretty much any other Star Wars I've seen, actually.
Yeah.
Like, George Lucas kind of infamously quipped that, like, the about the Star Wars prequels, when people said it didn't make much sense, that this was something that was made for kids or something, and it's like, well, actually, George, this is mostly about space taxes right now. And then you had a guy massacre a bunch of kids, so I don't know how pro-child any of this is. But I do think that Toby actually is...
Those jokes never grow old. Like the younglings. Oh my God.
Where were we?
A younger demographic.
That's right. So I think once I got into the mind of like what I'm watching is, you know, something that my younger cousins will watch and enjoy and or not, you know, that sort of thing, helped me a lot.
That's fair.
I think when I first started watching Avatar: The Last Airbender, I was like, this was supposed to be a work of art. These jokes aren't very funny. I mean, there are some jokes in there that were very funny, but like it was a cartoon, you know, like it had an age range because it was on Nickelodeon, you know?
It's with SpongeBob.
It was like...
Avatar was advertised with SpongeBob.
I'm next to SpongeBob, Steve, you know? That sort of thing. Yeah, so... You know, I think taking a kind of a step back helps me a lot with my appreciation of Toby. What you pointed out about the good things, I agree. You know, I love the premise, and I think they did take time to explore about like a Jedi, you know, working in a small group or even as an individual to, you know, bring like the light side of the Force and, you know, like create more of the Force because you're creating more life, you know, in the universe.
I didn't think about it that way. That is, yeah, that's really, yeah.
Like I liked that. I think you usually Star Wars is full of, as you can imagine, wars. But this felt like pretty much all Star Peace. You know, that you got like all the little cute little robots doing their own little gizmos, and some of them have a purpose. Some of them seem to, you know, exist because it's artistic and art doesn't have a function.
And I think, well, again, like one thing that I said was I would rank it higher if there wasn't the fight, like at the end.
Yeah, I mean I'm trying to remember. I can't remember if the Father Jedi Master was he a quadriplegic. Or did he just not... Was he unable to use his arms? I
think he didn't have arms. I think that you saw like the sleeve just kind of like tucked, and then in the vision that he came to like Toby, in the end he had his arms and was using them. So I got the impression that his arms were sliced off at some point.
I remember him sitting in a chair a lot. I don't remember him walking around.
He had legs, but like the chair had like arms that like robotic arms that he used to control things.
That's right. That's what I was thinking.
And I think it was implied that he could kind of move things around with the Force too, but he didn't like doing that.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I thought that part was neat.
I agree.
You know, to show how like different settings have, you know, different how people, you know, work with what they can do and what they can't do within the realm of their setting, you know, for fictional characters. Like, I mean, it's actually one thing that I kind of noticed Star Trek doesn't do. Like, they've cured all of that. Like, they have stairs everywhere. They don't assume... They assume that you can take the stairs, basically.
There's a very good episode in Deep Space Nine where there is a character who's from a planet with her planet has, like, lower gravity, and so she's crippled anywhere else she goes, and they talk about stuff like that. It's very good. I look forward to seeing it.
I was made of glass bones and paper skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I should, since I've kind of just said the same things as you have, probably actually talk about the fight part. It kind of leaned into what I think it was going for, which was like a Star Wars retelling of Astro Boy, which was like the first kind of like Japanese animation that like was standing as a Japanese animation, you know, kind of like the grandfather of all the other things that have come after it. So, you know, like that's probably what like the sort of rockets and stuff like that was going for. And I think thinking of it in that way, it's probably a wonderful homage. I haven't seen Astro Boy, so I don't actually know for sure. It's very similar like aesthetic overall. I think that the fact that there isn't much of like a distinct setting helps it a lot, because we don't know if the Inquisitor is actually like a once in the galaxy total BA or not, you know? Like it could just be some guy.
Speaking from, if the Inquisitors that we're doing from that, if the Inquisitor is the same as like what they are in Star Wars Rebels, they suck.
They suck.
They suck. So,
As in they suck at being bad. Like they're not very good at. They're not very powerful.
Yeah.
That makes it make more sense.
It does
to
make
me.
it make more
like
sense.
the fact that it's relatively lower stakes.
Yeah.
Is I think an asset. It's not like Darth whoever like shows up.
Yeah.
Curiously enough, even though I love the visuals of Toby, this is the same studio that made Akakiri.
Really?
Yes.
I guess they had all the fun people work on this one, and then all the boring people work on Akakiri.
Did you know that in DreamWorks they were doing pre-production for Shrek and Prince of Egypt at the same time? And Shrek was considered the lesser of the two. So if you got like in trouble, you got demoted and forced to work on Shrek. And it was called Getting Shrek'd.
Get Shrek'd.
You got Akakiri.
I got Akakiri. Oh, like that's amazing. How do I say? Like, I think, okay, so, I mean, one idea I have is, like, okay, so it's like nature. What if, instead of, like, having a big, maybe it would have been an homage to Astro Boy or whatever, but what if, like, the fight happened later, like, when more plants were around, and the Astro Boy, like, Toby used, like, the plants to destroy. So, like, use the vines, almost like a druid, to, like, you know, that connection to, like, that would almost be, like, more in tune with, I feel like
that being good.
Yeah. You know, the theme. But,
I mean, in some ways, the fight part.
Oh, hello, Tenzin. He's hungry.
Isn't that just the truth? In some ways, I could see how the fight is ultimately it's kind of a distraction. You know, it's the part where they bust out their budget, right? And because I think that the real heart of it is like the idea of Jedi being the good guys because they love life and living things, and they just kind of want to be, you know, little space hobbits, that sort of thing. And so the fight does kind of distract from that, but I think it's a cartoons kids fight. It felt fairly consistent, and you know, you can say that Toby should have grieved. Maybe it's because he's a robot. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't have time, or they didn't want to actually
They animated him with tears.
Oh, okay. I mean, you remember more screenshots than I do, but I could see them not wanting to go for let's talk about death, you know, in 10 minutes.
Fair.
Because that's, I mean, you know, and also there was a fight immediately after. You got to grieve later. You can't kill someone while you're grieving.
No, it wasn't immediately after. It was because he rebuilt all of his droids and the research center.
Really?
Before the Inquisitor guy
showed up again
because he's found the signal again. Like, I thought I killed the guy there. Why is there now more research going on? Why is there more signal again? So there was a time gap.
Oh,
yeah.
You're right, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess he grieved during the time gap.
I suppose. I will say I did really like when he's when he has that time to force space-time call his dead dad, you know, and his dead dad knights him in the vision scene was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the way we're talking about it, and I'm thinking about it more objectively with a cooler head, you know, I think I will be ranking it higher by the end of this. But I think one thing that I want to address here is, and a lot of other ones have it, and one thing that frustrates me a lot with a lot of these episodes, with the sequel trilogy, and with a lot of other things is how skilled people are without training.
It's very inconsistent.
It's consistent in the original trilogy.
Okay.
And it requires a lot, you know, of training and practice and patience, you know. It's consistent in the original trilogy. It's consistent in Clone Wars, the cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's debatable in the prequels. It's more over the place in the prequels themselves. But in my favorite pieces of Star Wars fiction, which is what matters most, Caleb,
right.
Is the prequel, the Clone Wars, and in the original trilogy, the process of wielding the Force, of using a space laser sword that can cut through anything, requires so much discipline and patience and training. And there's something that I really connect with and love about like the fact that like it's not just given but like earned, and you have to go through that. And so many of these episodes, like the twins, well, I guess we don't know, but the twins might have trained beforehand.
Their whole lives.
Okay, but Lop and Ochō, I guess Lop and Ochō, the Ninth Jedi, and Toby especially have like, I guess it's just those three, but like have like people with no training in like doing certain things just because they're a good person or they believe enough, being able to like overcome like trained, skilled, like, that bothers me.
I mean, you don't see Toby like train with a lightsaber. Like the whole sort of montage of him being on his own is like coming of age, kind of thing, So like,
which is why I think
if you want him to slice up some rocks, like I don't know, I have a hard time with the idea that like what's holding me back from liking this episode and putting it so much lower is that there's like, I needed 2 more shots, like, and then it would have been it. Like, I can't. That just seems kind of odd to me, and that might be slightly misrepresenting what you're going for.
No, I think. Well, here's what I think. I think it was what was really highlighted. Like you're talking about, like the theme of life and the connection to like the Force in all living things. Again, like I think it would have been. Like, there are many fights in Star Wars where, like, lightsabers aren't really useful, and it's all through, like, the Force. And I think if he just would have, like, used the Force entirely, or, like, used, like, the connection to, like, plants and things, instead of just, like, let me be a slice and dicer, I think would have been more in theme. So, like, again, I'm nitpicking, and there are certain things that trigger me, but we will talk about. We only have 1 more to go, and then we will.
I mean, this might have lasted longer than Toby has. The last one is the Duel.
The Duel, is it?
It's the first episode actually, and since it's the last one, I can authoritatively say that I put it at 4th and you put it at 2nd. Taylor, would you like to give a synopsis of the Duel?
The Duel is a like very like kind of classic take of samurai like lone warrior saves a village. And it's very much that, like, you got, like, this mysterious mystery man, walking through, visiting a village, and then there are bandits, who come in and start killing people and plundering and thieving and maybe taking slaves, who knows what they're gonna do with them. And then, among, the enemies is a Sith warrior, and, she's going to town and just, there's no, like, the village is falling very, very quickly. And then the samurai guy is like, fix my joy by the time the teapot boils. And then walks over, and then, like, so the classic setup's like, okay, classic good guy, got our Jedi here is gonna fight. It's like, it's been a while since I fought a Jedi, because he, like, stops the blade of the Force. And then in a hecking cool shot with a freaking good sound effect, he pulls out his red lightsaber, revealing that he himself is a Sith.
Yes.
And then basically you see we have the fight is a good Sith versus an evil Sith. And that is so fun to me. And then, I think in the end, so they have the fight, the good Sith wins eventually and, like, frees the people or whatever. And then, like, he destroys the evil Sith's, like, lightsaber, and then, collects the crystal, and then he opens up his, like, the hood or whatever, his hoodie, his, or whatever it's, his, whatever Jedi robes, his Sith robes, and you see an entire array of other Sith lightsaber crystals.
Yeah, an anti-General Grievous kind of.
Yeah, and I just think this episode, I think it gets my imagination running more than any other, like, episode. I think it's the most well put together in terms of, like, a Star Wars plot. And they're just something, so I have wanted to see, like, a good Sith, like, for so long, or like a good.
They're so negatively portrayed in media. Strictly speaking, they're not evil, just passionate.
I mean, yeah. I mean, okay, so maybe not Sith, but maybe like dark side user. right? You know, maybe is the more accurate term.
Okay.
But
That's
gotta
be Star Wars PC.
Yeah, gotta be Star Wars PC. But so he was so yeah. So I love that. I love this episode. I think it has a lot. There's a lot I would want to see. I would love to have more background on this one because I have so many questions. So yeah,
I think one thing that hasn't been mentioned yet is the use of color or the lack thereof in this episode. It's very like black and white. Very not even grays very much. It kind of reminds me of like woodcuts or something like that. The use of colors is like limited to I think just the lightsabers. Maybe?
And some of there's some like red, blue and green lights are like
lasers
and
lights.
Lasers and lights, and like the villagers.
Yeah.
Some of them have like like the
devices.
Yeah.
Whatnot. So I mean, I thought that was a very cool stylistic. It definitely made, whenever there was a color that was like stand out that much more. I think I got used to it quicker than I expected, but I think I'd also get tired of it quicker than I'd like to if it was like a long, full-length movie.
Fair.
But that was still a pretty neat stylistic choice. I think of it as being a risk, and I love it when artists take a risk, because it's just so much more exciting for the rest of us.
See, what I like about this episode, and this episode is like rated highest on like most things, is like the internet's favorite, I think. Which doesn't mean anything, obviously. I disagree with the internet so many times.
Right now I'm going to talk bad about the internet because it's during recording. This isn't on the internet yet.
But yeah, so like you're right. But this one, I think,
right.
In the very beginning when we were starting this review, we were talking about the potential of like, they have the freedom. They're not restricted to canon. And I think this is my favorite use of them taking Star Wars concepts and twisting them a little bit. Like, it relies on your knowledge of Star Wars and like the expectation, and it even gives you that information too. Like, they're like, oh, you must be a great Jedi of the tales of old, and then like he pulls out his red lightsaber and they all start to freak out again.
Guess not.
I guess not. You know. But I think that this episode just does so many things so right, and I like it a lot.
Yeah, I think that the use of like how they combined the Sith and the Ronin archetype was really neat. So like a Ronin is a masterless samurai, and since you're supposed to defend your daimyo, your feudal lord, like with your life, he either betrayed his master or failed his master in some way. And so basically now he has like no functional place in the social order, and that's why he's wandering, and that's why like Ronin in the actual stories wander. And like sometimes in like tales there'll be like heroes, kind of like a D&D adventurer type, I suppose. Even though like in real life they were much more perhaps not seen in such a positive light when encountered in real life. They could be bandits, for example. But combining like the Ronin sort of with the Sith was a very neat combination. It worked well, and it still kind of felt like a Western at the same time. So it had a fun genre blend, and I definitely liked that. I think the setting of like, didn't they have like reprogrammed battle droids or something in there?
That was the Village Bride.
That was the Village Bride. You're right. This one they had like, it was like cannibalized stormtrooper gear. Or something like that. Yeah. I think, Star Wars is such like junkyard science. Like they're putting like a power source from this part of a galaxy 1,000 years ago, and they're connecting it to the drives of the something much newer from the other side. And like, I don't think they really emphasize it so much, because then they'd have to actually like know their own lore. But like, I think that they kind of like, maintained that, kind of showing the progression or even perhaps the steps back in technology, or maybe even they're neither, and it's just kind of just reusing in a different way for their own purposes. I thought that was neat. I mean, I think I had some trouble with putting that. Like, fourth was a difficult place to put this, but I think it doesn't sit super comfortably, but I think it sits there better than the other ones for me. This might be just nitpicking, but there's one part where the Ronin gives the village mayor's son the crystal from the Sith he just killed and says it wards off evil. And you just shouldn't lie to kids like that, man. Come on, what are you doing? This kid is acting like he's gonna run the town, and you're making him believe stuff like that.
See, I like that line because I think... Because how's the thing? I think in regular Star Wars, that, like, it doesn't ward off evil, doesn't have anything. But I don't know about in this universe. Like, there have been so many things that are, like, changed slightly that... Maybe? Does it actually? Or is it literally just, like, a glowing rock? Like, there's a lot that I don't know, and so I like that line. But I could see how, like, if you believe that it doesn't, that could be seen as, a negative on the samurais.
Another neat thing was, like, how the lightsabers were kind of different. What was the bad Sith's lightsaber? Wasn't it like was it a scythe thing?
It was an umbrella.
It was an umbrella, that's right. That's right. Well, and then the Ronin, he had, like, his lightsaber swords. Like, he had his katana, and then also his, I'm not going to try to pronounce it off the top of my... I can't remember what it's called, and I'm not going to get canceled over this video, but the samurai short sword that they also had, like, that was also a lightsaber. You know, the idea that, like, lightsabers aren't all, like, the same, like a straight stick of ouchie light, is pretty neat. Yeah, I agree.
I thought, and again, that was a lot of genre blending.
It was genre, and it was neat in a way that, like, was actually bit perhaps, and I'm not going to be here saying that Kylo Ren's lightsaber is neat too. Perhaps not quite in the same way. Yeah. So that was so those are the I definitely this is the 4th out of 9. I see it positively. Honestly, like, I don't even know if I can say if I feel negative until I hit, like, 8 or 9.
Yeah,
like,
that's fair.
Akakiri and Tatooine Rhapsody I think nothing of, so I do think well of this one. It's a solid 3 out of 5.
Okay. Yeah. I need to, like, I mean, in terms of my enjoyment, I didn't think about ratings for these, so I'm not gonna think about ratings, because like, I think a 3 out of 5 should be, obviously, most things, that should be the median, I
would rank about half of these episodes as 3 out of 5 if pressed, but
that's fair. But like, this is, so in terms of ranking, so do we want to go through your original list?
So from top to bottom, I did The Elder, The Duel.
What? From your...
I'm sorry, I swapped mine with yours on The Duel. There we go. I did the same thing on Toby.
Oop. So what was your original ranking?
My original ranking, I did The Elder, Toby, The Ninth Jedi, The Duel, Village Bride, Tatooine Rhapsody, Akakiri, Lop and Ochō, and then the twins.
Fair. And my original ranking was The Village Bride, The Duel, The Elder, The Ninth Jedi, Lop and Ochō, Tatooine Rhapsody, Toby, the twins, Akakiri.
That's right.
Yeah. Has yours changed at all?
Has mine changed? I will admit, like, I made a list like a few days ago, and then it changed. So I think it's gonna change each time I'm forced to make a list.
Fair.
When I actually have to put it down. Like, I could see Toby, like, dropping to 3. I'm not sure if I think of The Village Bride as better than The Duel. Like, I might switch I might be willing to switch the Duel and the Ninth Jedi.
Okay. Yeah.
But if I did that, that would be on a day where I'm not putting Toby lower, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, it's really only 2, 3, and 4. I'm feeling pretty comfortable on the other ones. I know that that Village Bride was okay, but not great to me.
Mm-hmm.
I know that Tatooine Rhapsody, I wish I could put at a 5, but because it was so milquetoast. But unfortunately, I can't, because there are, in fact, 5 more that I liked more than it. So it has to be 6.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, I just genuinely wanted Lop and Ochō to end sooner so that it would not get worse to me. And I didn't quite feel the same way at Akakiri. I just wanted it to end because I was hungry or something.
I think for me, my top 3, they always dance between each other, around each other. I think the Ninth Jedi is consistently 4th place for me. Like, the Ninth Jedi...
immovable.
has always been at 4th. And then Toby... I think the twins and Akakiri, depending on my mood, I can, have lower on the list. Lop and Ochō...
You cannot put Akakiri lower on the list.
or the twins lower than Akakiri.
Oh, I see.
Each other. So 8 and 9 might switch in a day. I think Toby, where Toby is, can go up or down. Which actually happened.
Or down? Where can...
Oh, that's fair. Okay, could go up. Well, okay, because I redid my list.
Okay.
Based off of us talking, I moved the Elder to 1.
Woo.
And I put the Village Bride to 3.
Yeah.
So for my new top 3 are Elder, Duel, Village Bride, then Ninth Jedi. Because we talked about all the positives, I moved Toby above Tatooine Rhapsody and above Lop and Ochō.
Oh, take that, bunny!
Yeah, so Lop and Ochō, I feel like the character design just really hit it for me,
It shines.
It just...
like the sun in your eyes.
Yeah, that was it. But, Tatooine Rhapsody, I can't see, it doesn't have a bunny,
No bunny.
No bunny.
No bunny, no funny.
No bunny, no funny.
6 out of 9.
And then the twins and Akakiri, I think after talking about it with you, I think I have more fun talking about the twins than Akakiri.
I think the twins is a wonderful one to make fun of. It provides so much ammunition,
Which is why
I
put it at 8.
Oh dear. All right, so that was our ranking. Maybe we'll do this for season 2. I'd honestly be surprised though.
Next year.
Next year. Yeah, I saw the trailer. I thought the animation, maybe that was just promotional budget, but it looked really slick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I suck at noticing frame rates for animation, however. Unless somebody points it out and slows it down, I'm like, oh, you're right.
Oh, you're right.
I genuinely don't notice the animation drops or anything.
Yeah.
Unless it is indeed 10 FPS.
There's a meme where the frames drop with each. It's sort of like a B movie, but the frames decrease every time they say B. It's just.
That would be a jittery by the end.
But yeah, I think this was fun. It's fun that we got to go through all this. Yeah, I think I feel like my favorites I'd probably put maybe at a 4 out of 5. I enjoyed them quite a bit.
I think so.
And then my least favorites. In some ways, I feel like I'd put the twins a 1 out of 5, but Akakiri a 2 out of 5. But I don't know if that's justified. But
I can see how there would be a jump from the ones that you think the least of to the next step up. It's a step. It's not a ramp. There's only 9. It's a little, Yeah, so I'm Caleb, and
I'm Taylor.
And thanks for listening to IGN. I'm IGN, and this is IGN.
May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you.